before the first pyramids rose in Egypt, before Babylon's towers touched the sky, a quiet civilization thrived between two rivers. Here, in the Indus Valley, people built cities of perfect brick, straight streets, deep wells, and silent seals. They farmed barley, shaped copper, and traded across oceans, yet left no kings, no battles, and a language still unread. Tonight, we drift back over 4,000 years to watch this world wake at dawn, the river mist curling, the first carts. Before there were empires and marble palaces, there was a river, slow and brown, and along its banks, cities of brick that hummed instead of shouted, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, places where water shaped every street. And then, one day, quietly walked away. Tonight we follow that river back to a world that forgot how to speak. You stand barefoot on the packed earth at dawn, and the ground is still cool from the long night. There is no rush here, not even from the river. The Indus slides by a few paces away, wide, brown, and slow, as if it has all the time in the world. You watch it breathe mist into the pale sky. The air smells like silt and smoke and something faintly sweet from the fields beyond the city walls. You pull your shawl tighter around your shoulders and listen, not to waves, because there are none, but to the faint shuffle of people beginning to stir. You live in a place that doesn't roar. It hums. All around you, the city wakes without drama. A door creaking open, a goat complaining somewhere in a courtyard, the hollow thunk of a pot set down on brick. No shouting, no trumpets, just the rhythm of the river, the rhythm of work. Streets you walk are straight, straighter than they have any right to be. Someone decided, long before you were born, that they should run like lines in a palm, neat and deliberate. And now they hold their shape, no matter what season tries to undo them. The ground beneath your feet is made of baked brick, hard as bone, and as you pass the wells, you see the water catch the light. Still as polished metal, it smells of wet clay here, and of dung fires, and of roasting grain. There is comfort in that. The smoke is gentle. It doesn't sting the eyes the way raiding or battle smoke does, and it drifts upwards, softening the sunrise into a pale gold haze. A child pulls a cart half his size, and the wheels rattle against the bricks. Farther off, a man squats dust, hammering copper into a dish. There are no palaces above you, no statues of kings staring down from impossible heights, just walls, straight and human-sized, meant to keep the wind off your back. You belong to a world that has decided, at least for now, to put its faith in order. Here, the most important thing isn't a man's crown, but water. You can trace its path like a map, the river carving its way down from the mountains, swelling with the monsoon, spilling into channels that snake into fields, soaking rows of barley and peas, feeding the cotton that wraps your shoulders. The city is made to listen. To the water, even the drains are careful, leading everything wash water, rain out toward the river, as if returning it to its source. Beyond these walls, you know there are more cities, hundreds of them, strung like beads along the rivers and dry beds of rivers that no longer flow. You hear the names whispered sometimes by traders: Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, places that smell of the same fires and sound like the same carts. People like you live there, and like you, they pull water from deep wells and rub oil into their hair and press small carved seals into clay, so someone far away will know what they have sent. This morning, like every morning, the city exhales. Men lead humped cattle out to the fields. Women begin to grind wheat with slow, patient strokes. Somewhere behind you, someone laughs, quick and surprised, like they've remembered for a moment that there is more to the world than work. The river keeps moving, but never fast. It doesn't need to. It knows you will follow it when the time comes. For now, you stay here where everything is steady, where even the wind seems to pause before passing through the streets. The sun climbs, washing the bricks in yellow light, and the hum of the city swells around you. You pick up your basket and step into the day, toward the narrow lanes of Mohenjo-daro, where the walls lean in close and the smell of grinding grain grows stronger with every turn, and so begins another day in a place that doesn't roar. It hums. You follow the straight streets until they narrow into lanes, and the city begins to press close around you. The walls are made of the same reddish-baked brick, still cool in the morning, but they hold the heat of yesterday's sun like a slow ember. Every doorway is a frame of shadow, every rooftop a flat square where someone has left grain to dry. You walk past open courtyards where the air smells of dust and wet reeds. The lanes curl like a maze, but everyone here knows the turns by heart. The first stop is always the well. There are many, set right into the streets, ringed by stones smooth from years of hands leaning on them. You lower a jar on a rope, the pulley creaks, the water comes up dark and cold, and you drink deep before setting some aside for later. Then, as the morning thickens with voices, you head where everyone else is going, toward the raised platform at the center of the city, where the great bath waits. It is not much by modern dreams of marble, but here it feels grand, a pool set, deep into the brick, lined with bitumen to keep it from leaking, with steps that lead down into the water. You step in, and the chill runs straight up your bones. Others do the same, wading in one after another. You call it a bath. Your neighbor calls it communal soup. Still, you dunk yourself all the way under and come out shivering but clean. A moment, you feel new. Afterward, the day settles into its usual rhythm. There is no feast waiting for you, only work. You return to your small house, flat-roofed, like all the others, with 2 rooms around a little courtyard. Inside, the light falls through a gap and turns the dust in the air to gold. You squat by the stone quern and start grinding grain. The weight of the top stone bites into your shoulders as you push it in a slow circle. Grain turns into flour. Flour into something you hope will last through the week. The sound of grinding is the city's heartbeat. You can hear it in every courtyard. Slow, steady, patient. The walls around you are bare. Your possessions are small enough to fit into a single basket. A string of bronze bangles clinks on your wrist. A carnelian bead, precious enough to pass down, catches the light when you lean forward. On the floor, a child's clay toy, a tiny bull with wheels, waits to be dragged through the dust. The toy's expression is frozen in a look of eternal patience. You envy it. By midday, the city is alive. Bullock carts creak over the bricks, their wooden wheels leaving no trace but noise. You can hear the animals before you see them, their hooves muffled by layers of dung that dry and crack on the street. The air smells of that dung, of wet earth, of bodies moving through close spaces. It is not a pleasant smell, but it belongs to the city as much as the bricks do. In the lanes, merchants shout over the groan of wheels. Seals pressed into lumps of clay mark goods heading out toward the river. Sacks of grain, bundles of cotton, beads wrapped carefully in cloth. People brush past you with barely a glance. Life here has its rhythm, and no one needs to look where they are going. You keep your basket close to your side and step over the drain that runs beneath the street, carrying away everything the city discards as the sun starts its slow drop toward the horizon. The light shifts and the bricks glow red. You make your way back toward your house, following the same lines in the streets that lead you home no matter how tired you are. Another day in Mohenjo-daro has passed, measured not by hours, but by water fetched, grain ground, carts rattled, and the endless hum of a city that has learned how to live with the river. And tomorrow you will wake and do it again, just as the river does, flowing slow and silent toward the sea, carrying the sound of this city with it. Evening fades, and the city exhales into a cooler night. But the river never rests. By the time you wake again, the streets are already alive with the sound of carts heading down toward the docks, pulled by patient, lumbering bullocks. You follow them, basket balanced on your hip, toward the edge of the city where the baked bricks give way to packed earth again and the smell of water grows stronger. The river has always been your road. It carries everything away. The flour you ground yesterday, the pots the potters fired, the cloth woven in shaded courtyards. The boats that wait on the river are flat and broad, stitched from wood and reeds, their sails sagging in the still morning air. They lean on the current more than the wind. Men load them one basket at a time, pushing through the mud, and soon the decks vanish. Beneath piles of grain and stacks of pottery, you know where the river will take these boats, down past other cities, past other docks, just like this one, until the current grows salty and the land spills open into the sea, and from there, farther still. Sometimes the men talk of lands so far away you can't imagine them, where the houses are made of mud like yours, but the words sound different. They say your beads and your carved seals end up on tables in places called Suma and Akode places. You will never see. Your work today is small, but it touches that bigger world. You sit cross-legged on the dock with a lump of wet clay and a tiny carved seal. The seal is cool and smooth in your hand, a small square with a unicorn pressed into it. Not a real unicorn, but a long-horned animal, proud and still. You press the seal into the clay and lift it again. The impression is perfect. An animal, a few lines, a few tiny marks. You can stamp a seal. You cannot read it. Neither can anyone else. No one has ever explained what the signs mean. They are everywhere, on seals, on small tablets, on the wooden tags that hang from bundles of goods, and yet no one seems to read them out loud. They are like charms, symbols that belong to the city, even if they have slipped away from your mouth. So you keep stamping one neat impression after another, as the baskets are tied shut and loaded onto the boats. You do not need to know the meaning. The river knows where to take them. Around you, the air thickens with the smell of food. Someone is boiling lentils nearby, and the scent drifts with the morning mist. Your own basket holds barley cakes wrapped in cloth, hard as stone but filling. Someone else offers dates, sticky and sweet, traded from orchards farther west where the trees grow close to the water. Sesame oil gleams in small jars, so rich that even opening one makes the air feel heavy. These are the flavors that keep the city alive: grain, pulses, milk, and the rare gift of sugar from fruit. They will travel, too, packed in clay, traded for things you have never tasted. By midday, the boats are ready. The sails catch what little wind there is, and the current does the rest. One by one, they move out into the middle of the river, slow as drifting logs. You watch them go until they shrink into specks against the bright water. Then you turn back to the city, back to the lanes and the dust and the sound of grinding stones, because your place is here. The boats may go, but the city stays, and yet there is always the feeling, as you walk back past the wells and the courtyards, that a piece of you has gone with them, down river, out to the sea. By the time the sun slides low again, you are already thinking of what the river might bring back. Stories, spices, strangers. For now, though, the only sound is the slow rhythm of the querns, the quiet hum of the city folding into another night, and you, standing at the edge of the street, still watching the river in your head, not knowing that the same water that carries your goods will one day carry away the city itself. You keep thinking the river only gives. It brings boats, grain, clay, the hum of the city. You forget, for a long time, that the same water can also take things away. At first, it is only a nuisance. The floods come as they always have, spilling over the banks when the monsoon is heavy, leaving a skin of brown silt over the fields. You have seen it every year since you were old enough to walk. But one year the river does not behave the same. It climbs higher than it should, higher than the walls you have built to hold it back. It runs through streets where the carts once rolled, and when it pulls away, it leaves behind more than just silt. It leaves rot. It leaves broken walls and houses full of mud. You clean, everyone cleans. You scrape the muck out of your courtyard with a flat board, and you patch the walls with clay that never seems to dry. The city smells of wet earth for months afterward, and then the rains come again. Sometimes, though the rains don't come at all, it is not easy to tell when the pattern begins to shift. One year the fields are patchy, the barley grows thin, the peas shrivel. Another year the channels from the river seem shallower, slower. You keep waiting for the clouds, for that deep, drumming sound on the rooftops. But the sky stays pale and silent. The river, too, changes. It pulls away from where it has always been, creeping into new channels, abandoning old ones like a snake shedding its skin. Wells that have never failed begin to taste of dust. You do not notice the first cracks in the city. They come quietly, like everything else. One day a house stands empty. Its door is left open, the courtyard swept bare, as if its owners stepped out and forgot to return. Another day a well is closed up with stones. You ask why, and someone says the water turned bad. The streets, once so careful and clean, begin to feel heavier under your feet. Rubbish piles up where they're used to be none, broken pots, straw that no one bothers to sweep, rats that dart out from under walls at night. The drains still carry water, but slower now, clogged with mud. There are no battles, no walls breached by an enemy. It is just a long, slow wearing down, as if the city has grown tired. The noise of carts fades. The market grows thinner. People begin to leave without saying much. You watch them walk out carrying bundles of grain, children slung on hips. Faces turn toward a horizon that might be kinder than the one they leave behind. You stay because you have always stayed. But even you can feel it. The air is different, heavier. The hum of the city is quieter now. When you wake in the morning, the sounds that used to greet you, the grind of stones, the creak of ropes at the wells, are fewer. You hear wind. More than people, one day you find yourself standing by the docks again. But there are no boats waiting, no baskets piled up, no seals to press into clay, just mud and silence, and the wide, shifting water as restless as the people who used to depend on it. You look back at the streets, and they seem narrower than before, more fragile. The bricks that once felt eternal now seem soft at the edges, melting into the same earth they were made from, and still, no one calls it an ending. It is only a season, they tell you. Next year will be better. You want to believe them, but even as you nod, you can feel it. Something in the city has already begun to slip. The river is not the same. The fields are not the same. And somewhere, deep in the bones of the city, cracks have opened that no patch of clay will ever truly fix. You tell yourself the city will recover. You have always believed that the river, however it twists and turns, will find its way back. But the years keep passing, and instead of the hum growing louder, it keeps thinning out. Like a song forgotten halfway through, the streets begin to empty. Not suddenly, there is no great moment when everyone leaves at once. Instead, a neighbor packs a bundle of grain and walks away at dawn without saying goodbye. Then another, the workshops close, one by one. The potter's wheel stops turning. The coppersmith's hammer lies silent in a room, where no one bothers to shut the door. You stay long enough to watch the weeds take over the paths. The fields that once breathed green begin to fade to a brittle yellow. Canals clog with mud and turn into ditches. The goats that used to graze near the walls wander farther and farther each season in search of something green to chew. Trade is no longer a river, it is a trickle. Fewer boats come up from the sea. Sometimes a month passes without a single one. The warehouses stand half empty. Seals lie unused, stacked in corners, their carved animals staring into the dust. The clay tablets crumble. Hunger creeps in as quietly as the silence. The barley cakes shrink until they are hardly worth baking. The lentils in your bowl can be counted on one hand. You chew slower now, because you know there will be less tomorrow. You catch yourself looking at the horizon with the same thought. Everyone else has. Maybe, somewhere else, there is water. Somewhere else, the rains have not forgotten. When you finally decide to leave, there is no grand moment. No ceremony, no backward glance. You pack what little you can carry. A shawl, a few beads, a skin of water that tastes of clay. You close your hand around the seal you have used for years, then set it down on the floor and walk out without it. There is nothing left to mark. The streets that were once so full of carts and voices seem strange now, too wide, too empty. You walk past walls that lean houses with no roofs, courtyards filled with wind-blown sand. The city has already started to return to the earth. The bricks soften. They are not eternal. They crumble the way bread crumbles, the way everything crumbles when no one cares to keep it whole. Outside the walls, the land stretches out flat and tired. The fields have given up. They wear a coat of scrub and thorn. The paths leading away from the river are faint, but you follow them anyway, stepping where the others have stepped. You do not know if you will find anything. You only know there is no reason to stay. Behind you, the city continues to sink. A roof caves in. A street fills with dust. The wind whistles through a window where no one sleeps. There will be no final battle, no last shout, no neat ending. Just brick after brick loosening and falling into silence. You do not look back because you know what you would see. A place that once held tens of thousands of lives, now holding only the echo of feet on baked brick. No one writes a final chapter. The story just goes silent. The river still moves, but slower now, slipping through the mud like something shy. It will carry the memory of the city away, piece by piece, folding it into its bends. You, like everyone else, will scatter. Your children, if they live, will grow up in villages where no one remembers how the bricks once lined up so straight, where no one remembers the smell of roasting grain in the great bath courtyards. By the time the sun sinks behind you, the city is gone from view, hidden by the land, left behind to be swallowed by dust and time. Centuries pass. The path you once walked becomes a thin scar in the earth, then disappears altogether. The walls of the city slump, slowly, brick by brick, until even their outlines are gone. Only the wind remains, hissing across the plains, carrying grains of sand into every crack and corner. Seasons shift, rivers wander, and the land begins to forget. Grass grows over streets, roots crawl into courtyards. The great bath fills with dust instead of water. There are no goats now, no carts, no fire smoke curling from roof holes. The city exhales one last time and goes still. For a long while, there is nothing here but wind. The dunes rise like waves over the bones of the city, and what was once the hum of life is now a desert, silent and unmarked. If someone were to pass this way in those centuries, they would never know there had been a world here, only a strange, flat place where the ground feels different underfoot and the breeze sounds oddly hollow. Then, one day, the wind begins to undo what it once made. It claws away the sand, peeling it back, and the bricks begin to show again, pale and brittle in the sun. A corner of a wall here, the edge of a street there, a fragment of a seal pressed into the soil like a fossil of a memory. The city doesn't return to life, but it rises just enough for someone to notice. Centuries after you walked away, others arrive, not with baskets and bullocks this time, but with notebooks, spades, and cameras. They do not know your name. They kneel where you once stood, brushing at the soil with slow, careful hands. They lift the same seals you left behind, and they frown at the strange animals and the signs they cannot read. They argue about what they mean, how old they are, and what sort of people you might have been. They talk in words you wouldn't recognize, standing in streets that once belonged to you. To them, it is a puzzle. To you, it was a home. They uncover drains so perfectly straight they think they must belong to a world of engineers. They find beads that still shine, toys with wheels, a bath that still holds water when the monsoon comes. They are surprised at how clean, how ordered, how wide the city once was. They speak of it with admiration, but it is a quiet admiration, a whisper in the shadow of ruins. What they cannot find are the voices. They cannot hear the grinding stones, the lowing of cattle, the chatter at the wells. They cannot smell the barley cakes or the sesame oil. They cannot see the river as it was, fat with life and trade. All of that is gone. What they find are walls without roofs, wells without water, streets without feet. They take their notes and their photographs and leave, and still the city waits, holding on to its last secrets. You are long gone, but the baked bricks keep their shape. If you could walk there now, you might not even recognize it. But if you knelt close enough, you might still see your own footprints pressed faintly into the dust, the marks of a life. That rose, hummed, and then fell silent. The rivers have shifted. The language has vanished. The streets are buried under time, and yet, in the deep layers of the earth, the city holds on, waiting, as it always has, for someone to stop and listen, closely enough to hear the hum beneath the dust, because even now, if the wind is soft and the night is still, the city still hums.